Hi, everybody. Happy Monday. Welcome to another edition of Discuss Detroit, where we talk with small business owners, community leaders, and city residents about the city that we love. And today we are going to be joined by the amazing Rachel Lutz of the Peacock Room, Frida, and Yama. And she's here with us. A little bit of fuzziness on the screen, but we'll hopefully can get and we can hear her. I think. Hi, Rachel.
Hi, how are you, Jeanette?
Good. Do you want to try coming back in just one more time because it's a little
Sure.
fuzzy again?
You got it.
So this is a great example, people, of you got to roll with the punches. Technology's great, except when there's little glitches. But if anything's taught us that glitches are things that happen both in technology and just in life, the last few months has definitely taught us that there is a lot you got to just be able to be on your toes and adjust as you go. So now we can see the loveliness of Rachel. Um,
Hi.
welcome. Thanks so much for joining me to chat today. I know how much you hate chatting.
Yeah, I have no opinions and I never have anything to say, so I just don't know how we're going to fill this time, Jeanette.
I know it's going to be crazy. So first of all, I love that we know each other, and it's been a long time of small business to small business, and popping in on tours and texting with last minute requests for things. But why don't you tell the everyone else a little bit about yourself? What's your 2-minute life story?
My 2-minute life story is probably like a good 20 minutes, but I'll try to be brief. I grew up in Huntington Woods and Farmington Hills. My parents had businesses in the city. My grandparents had businesses in the city. My great grandparents had businesses in the city. So I got the really awesome childhood of, answering phones when I was 12 years old in Greektown, or I have faint memories of my parents' business in the Fisher Building before I had one. My parents also had an office in the Whitney Mansion when it was being turned into a restaurant. They leased out the second floor. So I really just grew up immersed in all the awesome things that Detroit had to offer. My family was really active in, like the arts community, uh, social justice work. So when I wanted to open a business, there was one place that was obvious to me. I went to Wayne State University to pay my way through school. My major was political science and then public relations. I had to work. So I took retail jobs to pay my tuition and my living expenses. And the recession hit. And eventually I thought, you know what? I think I'm going to work for myself now. So that's when I decided to just open a shop. I'd always wanted to. And I think, Jeanette, you were there in like the very early stages and remember that the Peacock Room did not exist as a store at first.
Trunk shows.
We, we existed as a pop up doing trunk shows. I did them at Cafe Con Leche in Southwest Detroit. I did one on Ferry Street in the Carriage House. I just went to other small businesses and said, "Hey, I want to open a store one day. I have no no capital, so can we just set up some racks?" And when I say we, it was me and a friend who was volunteering. That was the we.
Right.
And now we have 4 stores. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. But yeah, I accidentally stumbled upon what I was really passionate about, and now I get to do that for a living. It's pretty awesome.
It's amazing. So yeah, that entrepreneurial journey, a lot of times people who are not small business owners or in that realm, they
Mhm.
just see a business open and oh, okay, then that's just a finished product, right? And obviously the many steps to getting to a brick and mortar,
Yeah.
and the importance of pop-up. So many small businesses have used pop. I mean, when we had our first welcome center, it was technically a pop-up in 2008, but people weren't even really using that term back then. It was just like, hey, we got this space until someone better comes along was always the idea. And then, and then then we just made it work for a long time. So talk to me about some of that. So like you went, so you're like, I'm going to do a pop-up. What resources, and when was this, right? So this wasn't 2 years ago. This was a while ago. And what resources did you use? Now we have this really cohesive entrepreneurial ecosystem. Were any of those resources around then? Have you been able to use some of those resources in recent years as they've, come into existence?
That's a really great question. So this was back in 2011, which by my mental recollection is like a year and a half ago.
Right.
Quite a while ago. I remember that like Shinola had barely even been announced. And it really was a time where people asked me, like, why would you open a business in Detroit? And it always seemed like just the obvious answer to me. It was such an underserved retail market. I knew that from living in the city since the late 90s that we didn't have enough retail to serve the existing residents in Detroit. And I really wanted to, bring that. I remember that there was Tech Town, there was Build Institute. There's also like a really old school resource of SCORE, which is through the Small Business
Yeah.
Administration. And, they may not be as, hip and sexy as a lot of these newer startup organizations or entrepreneurship hubs. But they matched me one on one with an industry specific mentor. Henry and his wife have had clothing boutiques for over 30 years before they retired. So it was so great to have someone that I could talk to who knew the ins and outs of my industry and not just, a bunch of other business owners kind of scattered in other disciplines. It was tough.
That's
I
great.
didn't have any capital. But the community supported me. I, started with these pop-ups in other people's businesses, and it really was just kind of a grassroots thing. I started with just reselling, thrift store finds and estate sale finds, presenting them beautifully like it was a boutique. If there's a store that reminds me right now of how the Peacock Group started, it's of Margot and Max in Ferndale. It's this beautiful resale shop in Ferndale on 9 Mile that feels like a boutique. It doesn't feel like a resale shop. So that's how I started because we didn't have any capital. And then eventually I added, a storefront to my life, which is in the Park Shelton right next to the Detroit Institute of Art. And once I opened the storefront, I made the decision of, okay, I'm going to open up with a mix of high-end retail and brand new things because that way I'm a boutique and not a resale shop.
Yeah. Hmm. Right. Have you, and so yeah, we're showing, we have some great pictures to show too. And, because I think your video is, is just some kind of going in and out, but it's great because we can hear you and show pretty pictures of your amazing work as well, and the types of things that you guys sell. So, but also, so with the original Peacock Room, so let's do a really quick touch base on the original Peacock Room store that you opened in the Park Shelton. And what year was that? Okay, so you were doing the pop-ups even before that then. Right.
Hi, Jeanette. You there?
Yes, and your video is back, which is great. So I think like the audio might have cut out for just this most recent Peacock Room. So so you're saying that the Peacock Room, which was on in the Charles Lang Freer house, um, and right around the corner from you, and now is in Washington D.C. And I think it's one of those interesting things that when people talk about uh, like they don't know what's in their own backyard sometimes. When we would first started doing tours back in 2006, and we would talk about the Charles Lang Freer house and the Whistler's Peacock Room, and that the Freer Gallery in Washington, which was
Yeah.
the very first gallery, fine arts gallery as part of the Smithsonian, that collection started in that house around the corner from your shop, aptly named the Peacock Room.
Yes, and Freer was actually the second owner of the Peacock Room. It's interesting the picture that you are showing. That picture that you're showing right now, that has some Pewabic pieces in it, Pewabic pottery made in Detroit. So you are showing the Peacock Room as it looked in Detroit. So Charles Lang Freer, look into his story. It's fascinating. But I wanted to incorporate my love of Detroit history into the name of the shop. So that's how we came up with the Peacock Room. And our other stores as well, Frida, which was next. Frida Kahlo used to live in the building where Frida is. That's more casual, eclectic. The Peacock Room kind of vintage inspired. And then our other shop in the Fisher Building, Yama, that's named after Yamasaki, the famous architect, and he left a big footprint in Detroit as well. So I think it's really fun that when you get to name your own stores, you get to express your passions. And one of mine is Detroit history, so that's where a lot of names came from. Mhm.
Sorry. So I love the history in all of your names, and I also love just the wide variety of products that you offer. Right. So certainly Peacock Room. I mean, one of the things that it's known for are these beautiful dresses, right? And I mean, just all kinds of gorgeous dresses, and especially the higher end, like detailed items. Like I pulled up this little purse here. I mean, just so like if you're going to a special event, it's absolutely amazing, and you have so many choices at Peacock Room. But one of the things that I've always thought is so cool is that it's not just this high-end store for the only when you're going to fancy things, but that you also have like this is something you just posted about recently, really awesome puzzles, and you have like the most original and cutest and funniest, including with swear words. If you're looking for that, socks, right? I mean, so this wide variety of things from like $2 to $200 or more, obviously, I'm sure, but it's really for whatever price point and whatever people are looking for.
Yeah, I really wanted one thing that I didn't want to be was a high-end boutique where you walked in and you felt like you didn't belong. I wanted it to be accessible to everybody. So, we've had purchases as small as allowing a child to like push change across the counter around Christmas time because they bought a gift for their parents for under $10. Or, we also wanted the high end. Detroiters love to dress and they appreciate quality and they deserve good quality things. So we wanted to offer every price point. It was really important for me to offer every size. We carry sizes 0 to 22. Most stores with our square footage usually only manage small, medium, and large. But I really wanted to be a space that welcomed everybody, every body type, every standard, beauty standard, every representation of beauty. So we really try hard to make it a welcoming environment to everybody. And part of that really does involve different price points. I mean, have you ever walked into a luxury store and felt intimidated, like the salespeople weren't even going to talk to you? Kind of like a Pretty Woman scene. And we never wanted anyone to feel that way. So, and frankly, I can't afford to shop in a lot of the luxury stores that have, opened up downtown. So it really was important for us to serve the neighborhood around us. And the neighborhood around us is very mixed income. So it was important to us that we were able to offer everyone something and offer everyone part of that experience of taking home something from the Peacock room in a pretty bag and taking it home and remembering a special memory or experience with it. So yeah, we carry everything from fancy ball gowns to swear word socks, as you
Yeah.
mentioned. As probably one of our best selling items are the swear word socks.
Well, and when you and the idea of finding in the niche, right? And serving people, that's something I've heard you talk about a lot, is that wanting it to be, bring customer service and joy back to shopping, that the malls and big box stores had kind of quelched over recent years and decades.
Well, and I think the most important thing that I wanted to create was a place that created moments of connection between people. The criteria when I do my buying for the store is what would get you a compliment from a stranger. Because when someone stops you on the street and says, like, girl, I love that dress you're wearing, or oh my gosh, that lipstick color is amazing, it creates this moment where any two people can just have a conversation with each other. And the more that we live on screens, as we're doing now, the more that we live on screens, I think the fewer human interactions we have. So there really is purpose behind what I try to do with the Peacock Room. I try to create those just small moments of connection where someone can just appreciate what you're doing or who you are or what you're wearing, and have that interaction with each other. And I think that's also what I really miss the most right now is we're not seeing each other in person as much. I wanted to add to combat that. I started a group on Facebook called Sunday Stroll, and it's really fun. So, even though a lot of us are in isolation, it's a chance to wear something that makes you feel really beautiful. It can be an old Halloween costume, it can be your old, bridal gown, it could be just a dress that you really love, or maybe you wore it on a first date with your husband. Whatever the circumstance is, like throw on gobs of jewelry, a tiara, gloves, whatever, and stroll outside, take a photo. It's just been such a really fun experience and a little bit of escapism because we're not dressing up like we used to. We're not going to events as much. But by
Yeah.
creating this virtual event, you still find that camaraderie with other people who really enjoy the art of dressing, and it's very supportive. People, love your photo and they comment on it, and we share tips and share small businesses where we bought things. So it's a really fun way to still connect with people.
And I think that's absolutely amazing. So we talk about, all that's going on and the challenges with small businesses with COVID, which we can get into. But if we talk about what's come out of it and some of the ideas, and for example, your Sunday stroll idea is great. I have to say, with having 15-month-old triplets, like I am not always getting dressed, getting dressed up even before COVID, when I was supposed to be going places and getting dressed up for it. But the idea, but I am starting to feel it, even like when was, if I didn't have these types of things, I might not, ever put my hair down or put on a little bit of mascara or whatever it is. And it helps to do that every once in a while. So I love the Sunday stroll, and anybody can join that. It's just basically a Facebook event, right? Like recurring, and you can post photos of whatever. Go for a walk and get all dolled up and share it with other people.
Yes, and it's for men, it's for women, it's for adults, it's for kids. We are in planning stages, and I say we because I have some collaborators, some co-conspirators. We're in the planning stages of gathering outdoors safely in person. So if you stay tuned on the Sunday Stroll page, we're going to announce that pretty soon. We wanted to make sure that we weren't encouraging people to gather before it was safe, but now we're feeling a little more confident in the information we have. So we're trying to figure out how to do it safely.
That's awesome. Well, and I just want to say thank you also for your leadership around this, for other small businesses around COVID. For those that aren't aware, and if this is not a public group, but there is, Rachel started a small business COVID emergency group so that people could really share and say, what did you do? And what are you guys doing? And what's going on with PPP? And how are you doing this new, the new executive order? And so hundreds of small businesses have been part of that. And I just want to say, and including ours at Detroit Experience Factory, has been able to really utilize that to learn and to connect with other small business owners. So I'm super glad and thankful that you created that.
Thank you.
What's been some learning? What's the biggest lessons out of the last few months of COVID and trying to respond and stay nimble?
Yeah, I mean, thanks for the mention of the Facebook group. I've been trying to learn how to use technology to adapt. That's a big lesson, using Facebook actually in two ways. We did form that group with now almost 1,000 people in it, helping other businesses. So it's been a good crisis management tool. But also, I learned to use methods of sales that I didn't really think of. Everyone from the beginning of the store said, why don't you start an online store? It's just not. It's not our thing. I really wanted to exist primarily to serve our neighborhood and our community, but it's kind of forced me to go online now. And instead of doing an online store, which everyone else does, it's very static. It's not very interactive. So I learned to use Facebook Live as a sales tool. People have been really enjoying the Facebook Live segments. I've been enjoying doing them. It feels like I throw a party and my friends show up and I meet new people. And it really does give that sense of gathering again. Other things that I've learned is to completely readjust my expectations. My expectations of myself, of my support system, readjust expectations of what life realistically is going to look like moving forward. I kind of get annoyed with those terms, pivot and the new normal. I really think that there's still a lot of denial about what the new world landscape looks like and what the new Detroit and Michigan landscapes look like. And I think that the sooner we acknowledge those changes and adapt to them, the sooner we can all move forward and figure out how to live our lives. I've learned not to have that anticipation of when we get back to things. Like, this is what things are right now. And I think it's very important for us to acknowledge that, to, for an ironic term, embrace it, um, and really try to figure out how we can still live uh, good lives, happy lives, careful lives, just live our lives moving forward. So I think that that's probably the biggest thing that I've learned is to really just adjust my expectations, really just all around. I don't know if you found the same, Jeanette, but that's probably, I think, the biggest lesson out of this. And to really just value what we do have. We're always focusing right now on, ugh, I can't do this and I can't do that. And look at all the amazing things we can still do and how we can live. Well, it looks like I might have actually lost Jeanette. So um, I'm going to, Jeanette, you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
Sorry. Well, and this is, yeah, the technology of, there's, it is what it is. It's, you never know what's going to happen. But to your point about, getting back to quote unquote normal. And I think that that's, you know, also important to recognize that normal wasn't really that great for a lot of people, right? And I think that that COVID is bringing to bear disparities, the inequities in our health systems, in racist policies that have certainly plagued Detroit, especially hard over the years and decades. We have a tour we do now on history of racism in Detroit, specifically to help people understand the deep-seated systemic history and the policies that have brought us to a lot of what's happening today with the challenges. And then the pushback finally, not finally, people have been doing it for a long time, but that the mainstream is kind of getting on board with some of this pushback against racism.
Mhm.
As a small business owner, how can the average small business owner be part of really being actively anti-racist? I know that's something you care deeply about.
It is, and it's something that I think people should not treat as a trend. Trends barely belong in fashion, let alone in social justice work. So I think the most important thing is to, great, you changed your profile picture on Facebook and you put a status of how woke you are and how aware you are of certain things, but really what we need to be doing is a lot of listening and learning and doing. We need to commit to living lifestyles of being anti-racist. It's not just enough to not be racist. You have to be actively anti-racist. If you are, if you don't understand what oppression is like firsthand, and you want to learn. There are a lot of resources. We've been doing uh, online shopping parties at Source Booksellers on Cass. That place is a treasure trove of information on history, especially relating to the city of Detroit and race issues. But just educate yourself on systematic failures, how these systems are designed, why they were designed, what we can do to break them down. So, a lot of people say like, well, you own a dress store, why is social justice work so important to you, and why do you take the risk of putting that out there? And you can't truly do business in a community without being a part of the community that you're in. And I think that it's impossible to look around Detroit and ignore a lot of the reasons why Detroit looks like Detroit and why it is the way it is, and how I think it's really important for people to know that there are big ways and small ways as a business owner that you can change the world around you. If you're a fashion boutique, are you paying attention to different standards of beauty that you're using on your social media? Are you making other women feel welcome? All women feel welcome in your store do they see representations of themselves in what you're modeling, whether it's size or skin color or hair type. It's in how you greet people. It's in just being consistent in your training policies. It's in, you know, really just how we interact with people. So I think that it's important to make sure that you're just aware of the city's history, of a lot of these issues that you're seeing. They didn't come out of nowhere, and there's so much misinformation out there whether it's, completely fabricated quotes from Coleman Young that you may have heard growing up, or certain things that, you may have picked up in your public school curriculum that you didn't really question at the time. I think just being aware of those issues really helps. And we've also made a commitment since, before we opened, to support Black-owned businesses and make sure that they are getting the attention that they deserve. It's funny how when I first opened, there was a huge spotlight on my store. Like, you know, there's barely any retail in Detroit. Like, there's been retail in Detroit for so long, but
Right.
a lot of these Black-owned businesses are just not getting the media spotlight that they deserve. And it's trendy to like capture that shiny new thing that just showed up on the scene without a lot of respect to the business owners that have been making the city hum for decades before I showed up. So I think just being aware of that is really important, and sharing those resources and making sure that there's economic equity. It's frustrating to see a lot of businesses left out of this new development. A lot of the real estate game downtown, not just downtown, a lot of the neighborhoods, paying attention to just historic income inequities that have been happening for decades.
Yeah. Those are, that's so great. Those are amazing points. Understanding if it is new, it's sometimes hard to imagine like that people haven't noticed these things that are happening, but it's actually really common at the same time. We have an entire, if people are interested on our DetroitExperienceFactory.org website, we have an entire list of anti-racist resources. If you're looking from the very basic of how to educate yourself to action items you can take daily. There's a lot of really great information there that we've gotten from other people and just tried to coalesce a little bit. And I think that it's another important point that that racism, anti-Black racism, hurts white people too, right? So it isn't just a Black issue. It isn't just affecting people of color. That the negative in our society, that everything that comes through it with racism affects everybody as well, and needing to having people realize that it's all of our issue. It isn't just one group of people's issue. So I think that is awesome that everybody that you're talking about, everybody has a role to play, and you have certainly been doing some great work there too. So as we wrap up,
Yeah, it's
yeah,
responsibility. It's a responsibility, not just a
right.
good thing to do. It's a responsibility.
Right. And for those that need, it's it's a whole nother conversation. I wanted to bring it up even though I knew it was we only had a short amount of time, but the Urban Consulate is doing some amazing work around conversations. They have some events going on live and free this week of July 13th. So if people want to learn more and hear some real conversations focused around that, I would highly recommend checking out Urban Consulate. Um, and so I guess just last before we wrap up, how can people get a hold of you? How can they help your businesses, your causes? What's your call to action?
My call to action is follow us on Facebook and Instagram, the Peacock Room. Support really all the businesses in our neighborhood. Support any small business from wherever you're watching. Small businesses right now in general really need you to just flat out survive. It's a really tough landscape out there. So for us in particular, if you want to support the Peacock Room, follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Sign up under the video tab and get notified for our live shows. The live shows have been a lot of fun, and you can make appointments. We're open by appointment right now, and we are planning to open with abbreviated regular hours by the end of this month in July. So yeah, not just my small business, but if you can support any small business that is really important to you and you love, Really support them right now. Go in there, make a purchase, call them on the phone, have them ship something to you, do curbside, do whatever you feel safest doing, but make sure that that business will be there by the time we all reemerge from this fully.
Well, and gift cards, right? Gift certificates, both you guys, but also businesses that might not be open right now. You can always, and even if they don't have a really simple thing on their website that says click here for gift certificate, call them. I'm sure they, every business will find a way to give you a gift certificate of some point if you're not able to get out there and go into stores right now. But that's another way to help get them to where they're here when it's easier for them to open and everything. So, well, thank you so much, Rachel. I really appreciate your time. Sorry for all the technical difficulties, but the message is still clear. And we're going to have both the video, but also audio available of this afterwards as well. And I look forward to talking with you in the future, and maybe having some socially distant wine in the future as well. And just being able to see your lovely face in person. But and for everybody else, thanks so much for joining us. And again, apologize for any of the technical difficulties, but don't forget to, as you said, follow Peacock Room Yama. What am I forgetting? Oh, Frida, all on social media, Facebook, Instagram. And it really is fun following. It's not your average social media. There, you do a really great job with that there. Do your Sunday strolls, get all dressed up, support local businesses, support Black businesses. You can follow us at City Institute on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, and also Detroit Experience Factory. And check out our new set of virtual tours that we started that we've released now for all of July and August, and some in-person walking tours, socially distanced with headsets we're doing now too. So thanks for tuning in, everybody, and have a great week.
Thank you.
Bye.